If this video reaches 15,000 likes, I have agreed to change the video title to the raid that edged the Destiny community to completion. Do your worst. Desert Perpetual has just served up one of the all-time greats in raid racing history. For many reasons, the raid has sent earthquake-sized shockwaves throughout the community, for both good and bad. Bungie has blown us away before, but I'm not sure we've ever been caught off guard quite like this. Releasing just over a year after the final shape, the Edge of Fate was Bungie's chance to help steady the ship and determine both the short and long-term future of the game. While this is not an Edge of Fate review, it's fair to say that the initial reaction to the DLC has been a very mixed one. Massive W's such as a smooth launch, truly generational narrative experiences, and an incredible revamped build crafting experience have provided some serious promise. Yet questionable gameplay, tedious mechanics, limited activities, and inevitable controversies had the review scales fairly balanced leading into Edge of Fate's raid. This is to say that Desert Perpetual, including its raid race, loot, and future replayability, would prove to be both pivotal for Edge of Fate and arguably the future of Destiny 2's new structure as a whole. The build-up to the raid felt both familiar and unfamiliar at the same time, with teams grinding through the campaign before power leveling and grinding for new gear to take into the raid. All pretty standard stuff. However, Bungie's complete and total revamp of the build crafting system had sent the community into chaos as everyone scrambled to find the new best builds for each class. To add fuel to the fire, Bungie had disabled large amounts of community favorites and or meta picks prior to the race, meaning that leading into the raid, there was really no clearly defined meta. A few days after the launch, some controversy would arrive, as Bungie's Disable Hammer came down on something other than a weapon, the Encore activity. BAN! Players have been grinding this activity unlike any other, in order to try and collect as much of the brand new high-tiered armor as possible. Few people could argue that this farm wasn't stupidly overpowered, and even goofier that players were spending a new DLC farming an old exotic mission. But the decision to disable this after some players had already gained a clear advantage from it caused inevitable controversy, although we would have to wait and see how much this affected the raid race. As the clock ticked past 10 a.m. Pacific, teams around the world flew into the unknown. This is your last chance to check out the very limited time merch that I've worked long and hard on providing. It will be going away very, very soon, so make sure you click the link down below. As the cutscene cleared, racers were met with an entirely new location that somehow felt eerily similar at the same time. The environment was fresh, but reminiscent of Prophecy's Mario Kart section, combined with the endless atmosphere of the Infinite Forest. It's rare for Curse of Osiris content and positive comments to be mentioned in the same sentence, but this area was truly beautiful. With all that being said, teams didn't have to sit in awe at Bungie's environmental design for too long, as something truly shocking and game-changing was moments away. As teams explored their vast surroundings, they reached platforms floating in space with half spheres placed on them. Interacting with these pointed towards the path forward, and teams quickly found their way to the first encounter. But as racers gradually funneled in, we quickly noticed that something was different.
Hold on.
Oh, whoa.
Oh,
whoa. What?
Evan,
Whoa.
two different-
Whoa.
Wait,
Whoa.
what's the
Whoa.
boss name for this?
Whoa.
Wait. Wait. Wait, what is? I gotta get a close up. I can't tell.
Above him.
Evan, we need to get the name.
Oh
of
my
that one.
God. What?
Oh my gosh, Evan.
Wait,
this is
wait,
already.
So you know what it gives me? You already know what it gives you. Vibes up.
The mold being broken.
Yeah. Yes. Leviathan.
For the first time in Destiny raid racing history, players were met with a non-linear raid. While Leviathan would be somewhat non-linear with its encounters, this worked on a weekly rotation and was the same for all players. Racers were either met with Eatros the Wyvern, Epoptes the Hydra, or Agruis the Hobgoblin. And this division of teams instantly had a huge effect on the raid race, as scouts struggled to obtain information from others, and therefore early stages of the race felt like it was just the team of 6 players against the boss with no outside help. After the initial shock subsided, worries quickly grew that the role of scouts could ruin this raid and that screen blurring and muting would soon take over. This was because the non-linear style meant that although mechanics would be slower to discover at first, the community was essentially solving 3 encounters at the same time, and therefore by the time teams moved on to their second or third boss, there would basically be a guide written for them to follow. While this is a very reasonable worry, Bungie had thought this through, and very soon we would realize that mechanics were the least of a team's worries. It took just 30 minutes for Giggs in tier 1 to make huge progress on the Hydra boss, just a few minutes before ATP and John team also made a breakthrough on the oversized space chicken, and within 90 minutes we saw teams deal damage for the first time, with Mario Monkey and Team JBD DPSing the Wyvern before instantly wiping, moments before Giggs in tier 1 started blasting the Hydra. As will quickly become a trend for this raid, for a multitude of reasons, progress lagged behind on the Hobgoblin. However, as the clock reached the 2-hour mark, A-Tides and Team Indebted were seen using a very interesting damage strategy on the Hobgoblin for the first time.
Oh,
There it is. Here we go.
Here we go.
So, Team Indebted here. This is the first full rotation
Swords.
we've seen.
Swords.
Are out, yeah.
Oh, you know what? I wish, correct me if I'm wrong here. He's got Whirlwind on it for sure. But is this a case of maybe surrounded because there's so many ads on the sword? Is this a case of
Are
that?
the ads swarming them though? It doesn't.
I mean,
seem
there's some
so
goblins
crazy.
walking in.
Then you have and then they're also there.
And then it
wait,
transfers
oh,
to a different kind of
wait.
damage.
So they got to start shooting more
They-
long range.
they
like
have-
close and long. They got swords and snipers.
Yeah,
That's
swords
interesting.
and snipers. So they're gonna have to.
okay.
Maybe they're gonna have to break whatever the boss is doing.
To maybe
there
continue
to
damaging?
Continue damage phase.
Okay, so you have to stop first Hobgoblin, now back to close range.
Yup.
Maybe stop second Hobgoblin,
Yup.
back to close range.
2 hours to crack damage on 3 different encounters when the entire community was essentially split into 3 was pretty speedy by modern day raid standards, and this can largely be accredited to the relatively simple mechanics for each boss. Teams facing against the Hydra would need to split their team into 3 sets of 2, with 2 of these teams dedicated themselves to shooting the eyes. Teams would then split off into different rooms, finding themselves facing off against a Hydra who had 6 eyes and a glowing beam emanating from its shield. Standing in this glowing beam would illuminate one of 6 panels placed above the boss. Calling out which panel was illuminated would be necessary, as this would let your partner on the other side of the arena know which Hydra eye to shoot. They would also feed back the same info, and you would repeat this process until a Hydra's eyes were destroyed. This would begin to initiate a wipe mechanic, and it would be the job of the other eyes team to disable this with a similar mechanic to the other team that this time required opposite eyes to be shot in the middle, in a way that was somewhat reminiscent to the Leviathan's Gauntlet encounter. This would let players destroy the central eye and move to damage, with 2 players being randomly selected throughout points of the damage phase to destroy eyes, in order to keep the shield down. The only portion of this mechanic that tripped up teams sometimes was the light beam mechanic, as many thought they were standing in the Hydra's beam, when they were in fact not, leading to eyes remaining immune and players feeling that this was bugged at times. These mechanics were simple and easily discoverable, as it all just made sense, which can also be said about large parts of the Wyvern boss too, with the encounters start demanding players to perform like circus animals, depositing colored chronons through their matching colored hoop. A team of 3 players would also need to shoot the Vex cubes at a precise moment to assist a designated builder of the fire team to form platforms and ascend the arena, allowing them to activate prompts along the way in order to damage. This mechanic was admittedly super cool with its sense of verticality, but aside from another hoop jumping mechanic to extend the damage phase and avoid a wipe, this was really all the Wyvern had to offer from a mechanical sense, which probably explains why it was the first to be cleared. The Hobgoblin boss was by far the most mechanically complex of the 3 bosses, as while none of the individual steps were super tough, there were just so many little intricacies to remember in order to progress to damage. Racers would need to kill Minotaurs to collect a buff that would power each of the 5 coils in the room, before 3 players acquired buffs that related to each of the 3 now duplicated Hobgoblins. If a team was fast enough to ignite the coils, they could choose which buff to deposit on which boss, but those who were slower would find themselves targeted on by a Hobgoblin with the world's most broken sniper rifle. The 2 remaining buff players would then have to each identify the 2 calm coils, with each player seeing different ones. With this called out, the remaining players on the fire team would have to once again kill Minotaurs and deposit chronons into the called out coils, before finally depositing in the odd coil out. This still would not start the damage phase, however, as one player would find themselves with an empty align charge buff that needed to be activated. The mechanic required to do this was super simple yet super cool, requiring the player to run in a circle through each of the coils, charging them up, granting them a super grenade detain ability that they could use to defend their team and reflect the sniper shot of the OP Hobgoblin. This reflection would break the shield, thus allowing damage. The Hobgoblin's mechanics are not the world's most difficult, but they are the most complex of the initial 3 bosses and do require focus for longer periods of times, which can be difficult especially in contest mode and especially for the race to world's first, each boss having different mechanics with varying levels of challenge made for intriguing viewing, as it would be exciting to see whether one boss would become more of a roadblock than the others. All of this excitement was thanks to Bungie breaking the mold and creating a non-linear raid race, and with the relative simplicity of the mechanics apparent to all, it was clear that Desert Perpetual was an execution style raid, and more specifically a DPS showdown. 2 hours and 17 minutes into the raid, we got our first showcase of this execution battle, as the view from ATP of John team and Tyrax of Team Parabellum unknowingly found themselves pretty much neck and neck with one final phase left of the Wyvern boss. Tyrax and his team of Parabellum from Salvation's Edge World's First Winners failed to reach the final damage phase, leaving the door open for ATP and John team to take down the boss and be the first to complete an encounter.
CB,
They get it on this one,
they got plenty of time.
If not, they have another. I
CB,
mean, we didn't see Enraged.
It
does seem like they have plenty of time. I
CB,
think
they got plenty of time. CB, they got plenty of time.
I hear you. Wait.
Wait. Oh, is this?
Hold on. No, Evan, you just
Wait,
cursed them.
but where is?
Hold on. Enraged. Wait, Enraged. Wait, Evan, we weren't crazy. Evan, we weren't crazy. It was 3. We weren't crazy. I wasn't crazy. Evan, I wasn't crazy. I wasn't crazy.
CB, I know.
Wait, I wasn't.
CB, saying that you're not crazy is something that a crazy
But I'm
person
normally crazy.
says.
I am.
I've announced that I'm also with Cheeky. Cheeky is, yes, the Moist Critical soap, and it is absolutely amazing. Use the link down below. Falling just short of a completion on a raid day is never nice, but while it was unbeknownst to teams at the time, things were about to get a whole lot closer and a whole lot more frustrating for some. Despite the close call, ATP's team bounced straight back to once again reach the 3rd and final damage phase, with the margins being even finer this time.
Do they have it, please? Please! Come
on!
Please! Oh, yes! It literally, Evan, did you see it? It's shielding, they still got it!
Yes, they did
Oh
it.
my gosh!
They did
He
it!
went immune and he died!
They went immune.
Oh my gosh!
Immune.
Oh my gosh!
They got it! Oh!
Wait! No!
What? Are you serious? Wait, CB, they did it! CB, they did it, right? Right?
I think they did.
This insanely close call was crazy to see in real time and felt like a real 1 in a million occurrence with the last minute clutch. But oh boy, were we wrong. Around 30 minutes after their failure to reach the 3rd damage phase, Parabellum would once again find themselves in a similar position against the Wyvern. However, this time, the world's first winners would execute their damage rotations to near perfection. Near perfection.
Oh
Wait,
my God, that is...
No!
Oh my God! In a crazy turn of events, that is literally a fingernail. What else? That's a piece of dust. That's an atom. That's a neuron, an electron. That is the lowest possible amount of health I have ever seen on a raid boss, and it didn't die.
Unfortunately for Parabellum, things really wouldn't get any easier for the next couple of runs, with subsequent runs also falling marginally short. The close call pain wasn't only being felt by Parabellum, however, with Llama D2 of Team Wordle and 3 also experiencing a similar emotion, this time with the Hydra boss. However, it's important to note that while we're seeing an array of close calls on RaidZone, the vast majority of the community wasn't getting close at all. With fairly simple mechanics, you would think this was hard to believe, until it became apparent just how brutal the DPS requirements truly were. On RaidZone, we were watching the best team, with the best players, and the best builds fall short time after time, often with near perfect rotations. Iatros, Epoptes, and Agruis simply had unprecedented levels of health, and the limited damage phases that each encounter presented players with meant that the margin for error in each damage phase was unprecedented too. Raid Racing Legends needed almost perfect runs just to scrape a clear, meaning that more casual teams needed to essentially play like the top 0.1% too if they wanted to clear any of the bosses, and many were not prepared for the loadout swapping bonanza that Desert Perpetual would become. Not only were the bosses complete bullet sponges, but the fundamental redesign of the whole build system and the lengthy weapon ban list meant that there was no clear optimal build to commit to, with each boss having a unique set of characteristics that made certain builds and weapons more suited to it. So not only did racers have to play like the top 0.1%, but they also had to build craft like them too, in order to best optimize their team's damage. Few bosses in Destiny history, if any, have ever demanded that teams min-max their damage to this extent, and many more casual teams found themselves simply not optimized enough as a team to deal enough damage, and they lacked the knowledge on how to change that. We saw a vast amount of exotic weapons that were being used just due to the fact that the weapon ban list was so large and the fact that you needed to swap your loadouts fairly consistently. We saw weapons like No Land Beyond, we saw Sunshot, we saw Gallahorn, we saw Cloud Strike, and of course, we saw Thunderlord. A little over 4 hours after this raid start, Parabellum finally managed to clear the Wyvern, but the array of close calls meant that by this point, a handful of other completions had also occurred. Snazzy Rock and Team Nuts became the first to clear the Hobgoblin after 3 hours and 15 minutes. Llama D2 and Team Wordle 3 cleared the Hydra in a little over 20 minutes later, moments before Limzo and Team Redemption did the same. What made this race so engaging to watch is the fact that as teams were clearing bosses, we knew that they were only moving on to another incredibly difficult task, meaning that no team was really building a substantial lead over the others. With that being said, just short of the 5-hour mark, one team did reach a substantial milestone.
Come on, it's close. It's really close.
It's so close.
Get some anarchies
Come
out
on.
just in case.
Come on.
6.
Yes!
There we go.
Yes!
Another.
Yes!
All right,
Team
let's
three.
go.
Team Nuts!
So at least this is what we've seen. This is the only team we've seen. Doesn't mean it's the
This is
only
the only
one.
team we've seen.
Only team we've seen. And now has cleared a second of the 3 bosses.
The second boss clear was a massive moment that we had been waiting for, as this would officially mark the halfway point on the raid. Though in the time this took, the overall raid timer had flicked past the time it took to complete notable raids such as Crown of Sorrow and even the Vault of Glass reprise. Eyes now turned to future raids that would be passed, as well as the elusive clear of the third boss. By this point in the raid, however, the initial community reaction was starting to pour in. 4 times World's First winners Elysium taking almost 6 hours to clear their first boss, the Hobgoblin, was eye-opening as to show the true difficulty of this raid, and we'd now reached the stage of the early hype turning into frustration as wipe after wipe continued to happen.
Fuck. Good job, God
Okay.
damn it. Fuck.
Okay.
Dick.
All right.
Ass. Cock. Pecker. Schlong.
Next
Swindler.
one. Where are we? Let's go.
That's done really fast.
That was dead.
And there goes to you too.
Dado was about to become a whole lot angrier, however, as Math Class edged towards a Hydra kill before falling just short of an even finer margin than 2402.
Seems like go is the
Come
call.
on,
Come on,
Come on,
man.
please.
Come on.
Please.
Come on.
Please.
Come on.
Please.
Come on.
Please. No, please die. Please die. Anarchy, something. Anarchy, please. Anything.
No. Come on, we're getting close.
Has there been?
We know exactly.
Has there been? Hold on, I'm gonna go grab him. I gotta get him out of the. CB, you gotta move, man. You gotta move. Oh my God. Okay, don't move too much. CB, listen. Has there ever been? a team that does something like that more consistently? I can't think of one.
Although unfortunate to note, it does seem that an array of bugs seem to be affecting some teams at this point too. While the DPS check was by far and away the toughest part, bugs surrounding the rally flag, sprinting, eager edge, desync, and some gameplay mechanics did stunt the progress of some teams. However, with lots of teams having their comms muted, it was almost impossible to realize this live on RaidZone, as we couldn't clearly distinguish the cause of a wipe. There's also a possibility that a slight misunderstanding of mechanics can lead to incorrectly attributing wipes to bugs, which is something we have seen a lot in other raids such as Garden of Salvation, alongside some genuine serious issues we will discuss shortly. The moment we had all been waiting for finally came, just before the 8-hour mark, as we had watched Haminator and Snazzy Rock from Team Nuts conquer their third boss.
We might actually see one more
down to the
Thundercrash.
wire.
I think they
Down
might
to
have
the wire.
This could possibly
Down
be
to the
third.
wire.
This could be
This
world's
could be-
first 3 boss, baby. Come on.
Come on!
T,
Come on!
Wait, you need
Come
super,
on!
super,
Come on!
super,
Come on!
please. Oh, yes!
Yes! Yes!
Oh.
All right, we stay right here.
We stay right in the action.
We go half
Right in
and
the
half.
action.
We stay right in the action.
Let's go.
This is RaidZone,
This
ladies
is
and gentlemen.
RaidZone.
This wasn't only a big moment as it meant the final boss was up next, but more so because it meant for the first time since the start of the raid, there would be new mechanics to learn. And the question on everybody's lips, would the boss also be purely DPS focused affair, or would Bungie switch it up? Before racers were able to determine this, along with us at RaidZone, they were left in complete awe at this boss's design and entrance.
Oh, what the fuck?
What the?
Oh my god!
Fuck.
Yo!
What the
Yo!
fuck is that?
What the fuck?
What the fuck is that?
Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit!
Oh my.
What do you even call that?
You call that death.
Yeah. You call that running
You
back.
call that you die.
That
Look
is-
at that thing. Oh my
That is
gosh.
insane.
Oh my god.
That is your final
You're right.
boss.
You're right.
While all of us were freaking out at the boss, Snazzy Rock Ham and Team Nuts had no time to do this, as they would need to try to crack the mechanics ASAP. Screen hiding inevitably took over at this point. But according to Team Nuts, it only took around 1 to 2 hours for them to crack the boss's actual mechanics, which were once again not overly complicated. The mechanics would essentially split players into 2 teams of 3. One team would need to destroy the mines, with one player calling out a color, another confirming real or fake mines, and the last destroying and dunking the mine. This other team had the simpler task of just clearing ads and destroying Vex cannons to extend the encounter. This would be repeated several times until teams ascended the platforms again to enter the DPS phase. The DPS phase would be extended by one player being a good little circus boy and jumping through the right hoops, while the other players did their best to survive and loadout swap their balls off to deal maximum damage. Team Nuts had around an hour head start before A-Tides and Team Indebted cleared their third boss and found themselves met with the final boss also. The race was well and truly on between 2 teams, though things were about to get crazy, as less than 2 hours later, a flurry of completions meant that an array of world's first raiders joined the fray. Tyrax of Team Parabellum, Mario Monkey of Team JBD, Saltic Repo of Team Elysium, and more would all join the fight within 30 minutes of each other, leading to one of the most chaotic world's first endings we have ever seen. In this time, Haminator would actually reveal what was going on his screen during the final stand, because yes, they had reached a final stand. Final stands have been a staple of Destiny raids since the original King's Fall, and while they were originally designed to catch teams off guard and make teams have to lock in until the very end, it was pretty rare that we would see more than 1 or 2 wipes on final stand. Now you could argue that Rolk and the Witness made that a different case. However, Desert Perpetual was very different.
What the fuck is this?
Koragos's DPS check may just be the most brutal and difficult of the entire raid. Wiping on final stand would become very common here. And as we ticked over the 13-hour mark, A-Tides and Team Indebted would have the closest and most unfortunate wipe of the entire raid race.
It's so close. Get
It is
something.
so close.
Shoot anything.
It is so close.
Anything.
Literally
Please.
anything.
Shoot.
Literally anything. No way.
No.
No way. No way. Are you serious?
In the history of raid racing, I have never seen a world's first boss come so close to falling, and that must have been heartbreaking for Team JBD, with an identical situation also happening from Mario Monkey's POV. What makes that wipe even more heartbreaking is that this kill would have been back-to-back world's first for some members of the fire team, with Mario Monkey being a part of the first team who conquered the Sunder Doctrine on contest. This would just keep going as the hours climbed up in time. It just felt like it never ended. It was a complete conveyor belt of final stand after final stand, and the storylines that would be created from this moment were absolutely insane. From Elysium's point of view, they could bring home their 5th belt, solidifying something that would be near impossible to touch. From A-Tides and Clan Indebted's point of view, they could make up that reprised Crota kill and finally get their world's first raid after getting world's first Vespers host. From Mario Monkey's point of view, of course, you had to think getting yourself the belt on top of the dungeon trophy would be insane. And from Team Nuts' point of view, Ham, who was formerly a part of Team Parabellum, would become one of the most notorious raiders of all time, having 2 of the hardest raids of all time under his literal belt. Only one team was finally able to conquer Koragos, and here they are.
Or no deaths yet. All right, here we go. Going to final.
Going into final.
Are they getting shoot to loot ready? No, he hasn't.
Nope.
He's not going to.
He has
this
plenty
time.
of ammo, is what he
Okay.
says.
Yep. Lord of Wolves is out.
Lord of Wolves.
Holding T-Crash.
Holding
Maybe towards the
T-Crash.
end. Is he holding
At
it
the
for
end,
the
yep.
end? Okay, it did come out. They got a chunk. I think they got
Big
it. Evan.
chunk,
I think
big
they got
chunk,
it. Did they
big
get it?
chunk.
Did they get it? Did they get it? And
Yes!
first.
Yes!
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 Yes! First, and there
Yes!
it is. And there
Yes!
it is.
Wait,
done?
wait.
Is it done? What is that? Is that something?
Wait,
anything to do with anything?
what?
What is that? Evan, there's something else. That is a part of being counter, Evan.
CB, there's something
Evan,
else.
they don't know what to do. Evan, they don't know what to do.
Are you shooting the
Evan,
eyeball? What do you
Evan,
do?
They don't know what to do.
They don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. Oh my god. Oh my god. Wait, did they get it? Did they get it?
Wait,
I think they got it. CB, I think they got it.
what happened? Was that part of it? Did they do damage?
CB, I think they got it.
What happened?
CB, I think they got it.
Wait.
They did it!
Holy world's first!
Team Nuts!
Oh my god.
Team Nuts!
Oh my god.
Get me the fuck out of here.
Oh my gosh.
Let's go, Snazzy!
The team of Mitch, Silken, Dabs, aka Snazzy Rock, Inscaria, Melito, and Ham had finally done what felt impossible, with the boss falling just shy of 16 hours after its release, with only the titans of raids of Last Wish and Salvation's Edge taking longer to complete. Forsaken and the Final Shape were era-defining DLCs for Destiny, and they had raids to match. To me then, it is very poetic that the new era-starting DLC, Edge of Fate, also had a pretty era-defining raid alongside with it. We spoke to the world's first winners following their completion, and everyone should just take a moment to listen to what they had to say following their gigantic achievement.
Okay, so we had wiped like, I don't know, 8 or 9 final stands up to that clear.
I would agree.
Yes, and so, dude, I don't even know how to describe the mental state. Like, every time we hit a third phase, it was like just this insane shot of adrenaline where it was just like, we're clearing here, like we're clearing final here, and then we never did. But then we did.
Yeah, no, I mean,
And yeah, other than that, like we literally had to like just juice out every little drop of damage that we could get for that final stand, which I don't know. I'm personally a huge fan of, to be honest. But I know that might not be a super popular opinion. I don't know. Does anyone else have anything else to add? That it was just crazy. Like every time we got to that part, it was just insane nerves.
Yeah. Like every single final stand wipe, I was feeling absolutely sick. Like, oh man, it's like so close. Either someone dies and it's just not even close.
Yeah.
So
At
every
some point,
single time-
at some point, I started to feel nothing.
There was a lot of controversy and community fallout following this raid, but questions surrounding the damage output required and certain bugs were the most common. It transpired the day after the race that the bug situation was a little worse than we first thought for some. Parabellum had been facing complete game-breaking bugs on Koragos that seemingly all but killed their chances at what would be a back-to-back world's first in raiding. I would highly suggest that you read Tyrex's long tweet on the situation. It's very respectful and eye-opening to the seriousness of the issues they faced on day one. I've linked it down below. The Destiny 2 team would acknowledge some feedback on the raid, but as of writing this, there seems to be little to no comment on the game-breaking bugs that people were reporting. And I hope we hear from Bungie soon regarding this, as this just cannot happen in the future of raid racing. There's also the feeling among some currently that Bungie had not properly tested the raid. While it's easy to see how that argument is formed, I do think the sheer frequency of close calls in this raid could lead to another conclusion. The raid really feels as if Bungie estimated or tested the absolute maximum output of a fire team and set it as the health values as a way of demanding perfection from racers. At a time where so many elite players had been demanding a hardcore Destiny challenge, it seems Bungie somewhat delivered in the harshest way possible. Bungie have since tweeted about the difficulty, and their wording does not give off the impression that anything about the health pools have been bugged, although there is some investigation into the power deficit that the contest modifier applied. So again, make your arguments for or not in the comments. Former world's first turned Bungie QA tester Bravo even weighed in on this situation on Twitter publicly. Quote, "A lot of unfortunate bugs slip past the test. Makes me a bit sad, but catching everything is super duper hard. This kind of indicates to me that although bugs made things harder in some cases, the difficulty choice was no bug at all." Bravo would also go on to clear the Radon contest with his team. So for those wanting to see Bungie testers clear it, you got it. However, that's not to say that the delivery is perfect. Desert Perpetual's contest mode is without a doubt overtuned to some extent, but the percentage to which it's overtuned is up for more debate. Contest content should be tough, but creating something so hard that players are required to use a mechanic that Bungie were actively trying to encourage against a few months back seems interesting. Edge of Fate was never going to be the greatest expansion of all time. Its lack of real gameplay and activities dictated that, but instead it felt as if it was a real turning point towards the new direction of the Destiny franchise, breaking the mold and giving Destiny a fresher feel. In that sense, the raid is perfectly fitting. While not perfect, it did break the mold of recent raids, tested players in a way we've never seen before, and most importantly, it avoided a Ron 2.0 situation that would have been seriously catastrophic for the game. So while Edge of Fate will never be remembered as the best expansion, Desert Perpetual may help it be remembered as one of the most important.